All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Barbarian Noetics podcast. I am beyond stoked today for my guest. So excited to have this gentleman on the podcast. We have the intrepid and the prolific host of the Expanding Reality podcast, Brandon Thomas. Expanding Reality podcast, the expansion of consciousness, cleverly disguised as a podcast. As soon as I heard you say that, I was like, I resonated. So I just
Nice.
want to I want you to introduce yourself a little bit to my listeners. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about how you came into this amazing project that you've created.
Yeah. First of all, Raven, thank you so much for having me. This is an insanely amazing show. And thank you for the descriptors at the beginning. Beautiful words I've never been described as. And you were the first to greet me with those, and honored and grateful for that. As you have graciously said here, my name is Brandon Thomas. I host a show called Expanding Reality, which has been way bigger than me for a very long time now. I just feel like I'm just kind of hanging on to some beast that I happen to wrangle that's absolutely incredible and just keeps going. And so the show started after sort of an interim from a first run at a podcast when I'd never heard I didn't know what podcasts were 4 years ago. And this sounds insane to people who didn't grow up in the 80s like I did, but I just was late to the game, and that's fine. But man, I came to the game hard. And so when I found out what podcasts were, we were taking my wife's car to the store one morning, and it was like a longer drive. We live out in the country, so we had some time. And on the radio, what I thought it was the radio, there were these dudes talking, and I was like, "What the?" They're dropping f-bombs. They're talking about all kinds of stuff. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Excuse me, that's rude. And she said, that's a podcast. And I said, what the fuck is a podcast? And so I ended up just falling in love with this show, a very popular show called Last Podcast on the Left. And I ended up just devouring their entire catalog. I just could not get enough of this, and just blown away by the whole concept in general as far as free speech goes. And it just resonated with me so hard to use the shit out of that word, which I do. And we ended up even seeing them in Dallas together. My wife and I drove out there and saw them live. And it was just a really cool way to get introduced to the medium that would now be the thing that is just really set me free into my most me and my most ability to give back to everybody else. So it really then kicked off this idea to have a show. It was called the Up and Adam, ADAM, because my friend's name is Adam. So the Up and Adam experiment, right? And so Up and Adam. Okay. And so it was, the idea goes, my wife and I, which whatever you wanted to say, we are spiritually, and then a Christian friend of ours, very devout Christian, Adam, and then ironically, right, the first man. And then our friend who was an atheist. And we thought we could all sit down, have a cool conversation. It'd be fun. Towards, like 2 episodes in, I'm starting to be like, I want to talk about UFOs and shit. And like, they just weren't really having it. You know what I mean? And that's fine. But we had some awesome conversation, which we had a lot of fun. It really cut my teeth in a great way. Because the thing about things like that, I'm grateful it's scrubbed from the internet. I doubt you'll ever find an episode. If you do, God bless you. You could see where I was just like, dude, we're doing this. And we had things. I wrote music for this. Like, we had songs. I wrote a whole song about 5G, and it was in the form of a rap song. And I'll actually see if I can pull it up and find it.
Please.
That'd be a cool ass thing for us to check out here. But
Yeah.
um it was awesome. And so we did all of these things and like really produce and like all the to the best of our ability at the time and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so 2020 happened, it fizzled out. We got about 52 episodes into it, something like that. But even 20 episodes into the project, I'm already like got a list, a green notebook, a spiral notebook I still have. And it had just a list of people that I wanted to start introducing to our conversations as interviews. You know what I mean? Again, Last Podcast on the Left doesn't really do this. They do it rarely, but it was mostly their show. So even this concept wasn't something that, a lot of I was around. And so introducing people to this, and I was like all about this action. I couldn't wait to like get this going. And then I really started formulating before I brought it to everyone. But in the meantime, as I was doing these things, I was producing these crazy, awesome pieces. Like, there's a part 1 and part 2 that I did that actually I ought to see if I can find it. It's on a hard drive somewhere. There's a part 1, part 2 I did to my wife and my 2 friends here, where I pulled clips. I had all this audio. It had music I was talking over. It was just fucking awesome. And it was so well produced and shit. I was just like so proud of myself. And it was so early on in the game. But again, it fell on deaf ears. We didn't have an audience. But the good news again about that is you fail early, I guess, or I don't believe in failure. I believe in feedback. But what I will say is, like, you learn early, and man, I was going with it. And so it gave me a lot of freedom with the whole thing, and, audio and producing and all that kind of stuff. So 2020 hit. And everybody just kind of did their own thing. And in the meantime, like, I don't stop. Like, everybody else said, oh, podcast is over. And they just went on about their fucking lives. And I'm just like, okay, what's the next phase? You know, and I'm thinking about it. I'm already like ready to rename. And I was sitting there with a whole list of things on this pad, like expanded perspectives and all these, you know, aligned, whatever. And I had all of these like words, and they were very important. And then I got to expanded realities. And I was just sitting there and I was like, there's something in there. And then really it got to the point where it was expanding was very important. The verb, for some reason, I was like, yeah, make it continuing, because it's not a finite deal. It's going to be expanding, right?
Yeah.
And so, so expanding reality was introduced to the group, and I said, hey, you know, we're coming back. I'm doing this thing. I've got some people I want to interview and stuff. And everybody was like, yeah, we don't want to do that anymore. We thought that was just a thing. And like, we can't believe you even kept doing that. You know what I mean? So in the meantime, in all of this is a back room in our house. I was painting. All of these walls were pink. This was the last room in the house that got our love in it. We used to raise baby goats in here when we had them, because this is a 12-acre ranch. And so we'd have baby goats and stuff. And there were 2 of them that needed to be bottle fed in the house, and they lived in this room. So the place was all pink or whatever. So I got to work. I painted the whole thing black. I got, you know, all the tiles in and everything. I built all the furniture in here. Wow. All of that kind of stuff, and just got the gear, got everything, you know, really ready to go. And like I said, nobody else was into it. So I went ahead and started reaching out to folks and getting them booked for the show for just me and somebody else. Yes, I'm verbose, and I do get diarrhea of the mouth, as I affectionately refer to it as, but I'm not a monologue person. I'm an energy exchange person. You know, I gotta, you know, these people, oh, you're funny, you should be a comedian. No. I'm in the moment. Like, you think I'm funny because we're having a good time. The energy is shared. That's why you feel that you would like to see me do this, right? But I'm not, right? Or like, oh, you run, like people who asked like Joe Rogan or something to run for president. It's like, we know why you say stuff like that, but we're not gonna fucking, that's not what you mean, but we appreciate it. But what I mean to say is through that, then I started interviewing people, and man, about 4 episodes in, I got to a guy named Philip Mantle. And that was really cool too, because I met a guy just online. His name's Travis Morris, and that was my first episode ever. It dropped January 28th of 2021 on the first full moon of that year. That year, I was still working this job, dude, and like things were that, like, all of this has been just fucking crazy. And so I do the episode, and then 2 after that, we're in studio where we didn't have a camera, but the audio's there, and the audio sucks, but it's out there. It's all out there. The second and third are 2-parters from a guy I had in studio that worked at NASA. And in fact, he sent me a bunch of cool shit. He said that this was from the International Space Station and went to space. Isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I feel the vibes.
I know, right? And then he sent me like some tiles, because he worked on the Columbia after the Challenger disaster. They went all out on tiles, and he's been in a bunch of parabolic flights. So he's done the 0G, all this kind of, he created the adhesive, like, to keep it. It's fascinating. Whether space is real or not, it's fascinating. Anyway, so I had him on, and then the show went from there. And then fourth conversation I had was with a guy named Philip Mantle, and Philip Mantle was on my list, and I just knew him as an author. I'd heard him on Coast to Coast AM, and I was huge into Coast to Coast. And I so had him on the list. I had Philip Mantle on. The dude comes on and is just amazing. We have an awesome conversation. The next day, I'm driving my little car to work to go work my job, and he sends me an email, and he said, "Hey, had a lovely chat with you. Here's some of my authors, and I would just like to send you some of our authors as books come out or whatever." So now I've got like a publisher hookup that's just sending me authors like 4 episodes into the thing.
Wow.
So this is like one of the most longest and detailed ways of showing you the beginning of this. And so I'm just going to tighten it up here because you didn't ask for all this. But what I will say is everything from there just turned out absolutely amazing. It started with these incredible people. It spiraled out. I've crossed many of them off of the list, air quotes, but it's gone so much further than UFOs and my original intention with it, because even through the study of UFOs, I really got to the question with even UFOs. Like you start to go, well, is it nuts and bolts? Is it interdimensional? Is it all human technology, like that's just badass, and they're just telling you that we're in the fucking equivalent of the Stone Age compared to what they really have, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have like time travel. You have all of these things. Well, within this process, you get to the conversation where J. Allen Hynek and Terence McKenna and Jacques Vallée talk about like that it may be just a psychosemantic phenomena. It may be just something you're fucking making up from your mind. Now, when you start to talk about that, and then I've been a psychonaut for 20 years, like I've been over 20 years, well invested into the idea of connecting with psychedelics and plant medicines, mostly for recreation, I'll be honest with you. It's mostly just for fucking fun, because I find this place amazing and fun.
Hell yeah.
But within that, I always know that so much deep shit occurs, and it doesn't have to be sit there and be serious. And actually, I think that with my personality and my mission here of to give people back to themselves, my focus on play is very necessary, not only for my creative process, for my ability to continue to desire breathing on this place, but also to let folks know that it's fun, it's safe, and actually encouraged. And that's actually way more powerful, which is why play is so discouraged by the thing you also find the opposite to be true of when it's presenting to you, right? So the sit down, shut up model also goes hand in hand with the, hey, this is for your health and don't go outside, and all these like things, right? It comes out of the same mouthpiece. So just we'll just put a pin in that and move on. But
Yeah, there's a couple things
yeah,
I just want to pick up
please,
really
yeah.
quick. So it's just like I'm totally here for the divine timing of things and how things come into your life, like when and as you start to like dive more into the synchronicities of life, the more the synchronicities occur. So everything that you're saying right now about like the play and being able to not take yourself too seriously and giving people back to themselves and giving yourself back to yourself, it like I don't even have the appropriate small mouth noises to like explain how much I resonate with that. But I wanted to actually ask you, this like feeds into one of my questions.
Sure.
So I have been noticing, and I think this is something with art in general. So certainly podcasting, and I call it the rabbit holes of space and time. One of the reasons why I love the podcast medium is that it's like a bridge, because there's the whole idea of found time when people you can be in like a forklift all day and you can't necessarily read a book while you're in a forklift, but you can listen to a podcast, and you can listen to just like a funny podcast, whatever you want to do. If you're a 30-year-old white woman, you're going to listen to a crime podcast, but if you're someone else, you'll listen to this educational podcast, and like it's the found time aspect. And so what I've been noticing is when I first started my project as well, and also for me, 2020 was definitely like a pivotal year where I hit the gas. Like I same as you, like everyone else was all like, and I remember I wrote my family a big long email about like, yo, this is a pandemic of fear, so I'm not going to be afraid. Whatever happens, happens. And whatever, if they want to shut down my gym or whatever, I'm just going to podcast more. And that's when I really kind of took it to the next level in terms of like consistency and stuff like that. And all these, everything has flown from there. But there's this thing that happens I'd love to hear your thoughts on, with pertains to all art, including podcasts, where sometimes when you start something, you're not sure exactly, to put it bluntly, what you're doing. Like my first couple episodes, I was just like, I don't know. I had like an old tablet and like a lavalier mic, and I was just interviewing family and friends and just asking them like, hey, like, what do you think about stuff? And it's like over time, I guess the purpose or the guiding kind of light of the project just starts to become more and more clear. And then in that process, things seem to develop a life and a momentum of their own.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets like really fun and exciting, to where it's like obviously, and it's a self-feedback loop where like the more you feel that energy, the more you actually want to create. And then the more you want to create, the more that you kind of like ride that energy. And it kind of reminds me of fuck it, I'm just going to jump right into psychedelics really quick.
Please.
I love I really, really have a deep love and respect for Salvia Divinorum. And when I engage with Salvia Divinorum, I ride a wave of time. So it's like it points out like the existence of the present moment, and it kind of shows that we're like surfing this wave of time, and it has like its own momentum that kind of like guides you and not necessarily directs. You ride it. That's just it. You ride it. And so that energy, like, what are your thoughts about that? How the project develops a life of its own, it starts to generate its own momentum. And what are your thoughts, and what do you think that means?
It's a brilliant thing you bring up. I want to talk about salvia in a minute, but the wave concept is really interesting because yes, you are riding a wave. Now you can picture, let's say all of us, all the expressions of us, let's just make it super rudimentary and say that it is a single wave that's got all of us on it and we're all riding it, and it's called time, right? Now, what's interesting about this, and like you describe it as riding a wave, it feels like, excuse me again, it feels like what we're doing here is that some people have figured out that you can surf the wave and you can ride it forward and you can enjoy it and you can actually see sort of what's coming and you can steer and weave in and out as you make relationships and you build and you create and you do amazing things that do affect the momentum of time or the wave, because the time is subjective, which is really interesting. So you can sort of be ahead of things. That's really interesting. But then also you can picture the same people, let's say my folks, for instance, that don't know what the fuck is going on here and that have never done psychedelics. But it feels like all of the people around here right now with all the fucking things going on. Can we cuss on this, by the way? I'm just dropping
Oh,
F-bombs.
please, dude.
Okay,
There's
thank you.
no
I didn't mean to be rude.
whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Have at it, brother.
Thank you. It seems like that they're all tripping balls and that they've never done acid before, you know, but we've like sort of been involved in psychedelics. I mean, as far as a mindset goes, the zeitgeist, because of just how rapidly things are changing and how quickly things are being, you know, coming to light, which we know is the age of Aquarius. Yeah. Lights being shined all over the place. All the little fucking demons are scurrying to the surface, which is just versions of you that were showing you the path. And now here they are. And now what do we do? And people are losing their fucking minds about it. Some people are. But what I would say is that our job here as spiritual teachers or leaders or just people holding the light is really, you know, what it pertains to. I'm no guru, and I would never, ever say that. What it feels like is that our job here is just to be like trip sitters for him and to be like, hey, it's going to be okay, you know. And people, especially wandering around, that are looking now and are being enlightened by the trip itself and are coming to some realization, saying, hey, like I'd like to be guided in a little bit. I'm like, oh, and we are like, oh, and you just sort of turn them around on the wave and you let them realize, hey, we're riding this wave. Here's the way that you can see by taking a participatory action rather than being caught up in the tumble of it and feeling like you're going backwards and that you're rolling through it. So therefore, the things that you
Yes.
could have seen before and even not even avoided, chosen a better path and seeing that there are other options in front of you. Just if you get out of the tumble, then you really start to see that it's navigable, it's fun, and it is all about play. It is surfing. Some people are just caught in the damn tide, and a lot of folks are. And what I did for a while that knocked me off my board as I was surfing, I love this analogy, by the way, knocked me off my board as I was surfing was as I would attempt to grab people tumbling as they were tumbling through, not knowing that it was my job just to hold the light from my position so that I remained my balance, right, and held my power, but then let them know and guided them with instruction on how to create their own board and surf the wave, right? And so as I'd reach down to save somebody and I had attachment to that idea, again, to stick with the banger metaphor, I would be pulled into the wave, right? And knocked off my board, which would be turbulent, and then all these things, and you resettle yourself. Now, sometimes, you know, the helpful will just jump back in the wave and be there with them and ride it with them and go, look, here's the board, here's how you do it. And then we'll come back up and here we are. It's like you're expert, like surfers, really, is what this is, you know, surfing this wave of time. Again, banger fucking metaphor, dude. Now to salvia, man, I've experienced salvia once, but it's interesting that you brought it up because it keeps rearing its head in my experience, and so I feel and I'll absolutely I don't I'm not a turner downer of things, right? And so if it when it presents itself in my reality again, I will experience it. But man, the first time I ever did it, I had have you heard of Dr. Rick Strassman?
I've heard of him.
DMT, the
Not too
spirit
familiar.
molecule. Oh, dude, DMT, the spirit molecule. Check that out. Just get it. Oh,
Okay.
it's wonderful. He came on
All
for
right.
his new book. I'd never tell you what to do. I'm just encouraging because I love you. He came on with his new book, and what he described salvia as, because I asked him, I was like, "What did you think of salvia?" He goes, "Oh, it's bizarre." And this guy, when you'll learn more about it, but he's fucking great, and the episode's wonderful. But we were talking, and it is fucking bizarre in my mind, but it's just such an interesting experience that when I had it from the perspective I had well over 20 years ago, dude, I did it one time 20 years ago. It was so bizarre that it was more relatable, I suppose, now to what my latest experimentation was with DMT, but smoked back in March of this year for the first time. And that was incredible. Have you ever experienced that or connected with that?
No, I haven't actually smoked DMT yet. I'm still waiting on that experience.
5 stars, dude. 5 fucking stars. It's probably easily one of my top favorites. And it's simply because, like, I've done the 3-day acid trips where you, like, go out in the woods and you're fucking tripping for 3 days and you're, like, exhausted. It takes just as many to recover. So you're, like, a week commitment into this trip and shit. And so I've done all of those. And they were wonderful, very heroic doses of things lasting 16 and plus hours and all of those good things. Now, I got shit to do, man. You know what I mean? And so why I like DMT is because it's like 15, 30 minutes round trip, and then you're driving home. Like, you're fine. Like, totally cool. But it was one of the most pro fucking found experiences I've ever had, ever on any psychedelic. And I've done oodles and oodles of oodles. And so with DMT, the smoked, it was just so incredible and so profound. But then okay, we're back with the information. Like it's just the back to baseline, the quick turnaround thing. I found number one, delightfully efficient, as just from, again, where I'm at with, like, I've got commitments, I've got more things that I'm looking forward to in this realm, which is amazing. That's a beautiful place to get to as a deliberate creator. When you're creating so much, you're like, dude, this realm is the shit. Like, I don't remember my dreams, all these things, right? Because right here is the dream in my mind. And so with that experience, though, it was such a nice break. It was such a nice experience. And so again, 5 fucking stars. I will over manifest this with you now. I'm amplifying this with you now that it occurs, which it will, in divine timing and at the right time.
Yeah.
But
I have such a funny story about the DMT. So I was gifted I was gifted this banger DMT that was created by a friend of a friend, gifted to me, super generous, and I had been hanging on to it for like a while because I wait for like the right time and stuff. I live in Phoenix. It's the summer. It gets like hella hot and stuff like that. I had some drama, which I won't get into and stuff, but I had a break in and all this kind of stuff, and so I was like putting all the stuff in my car to like just kind of take care of it. And so I had like the super subtle like little DMT crystals, and I like left it for like 10 minutes in the car in the heat in the summer. And so that was that. But I was like, I'm unbothered, you know what I mean? Because I know that like that was what had to happen with that specific little thing, and the opportunity is going to come. And I think that it's like I'm still learning things that I'm going to utilize when I do have the experience. You know what I mean? Like the experience is going to come when it comes. Really quick, I don't want to get too derailed, not derailed, I don't want to spend too much time on salvia, but just really quick. The salvia is, to me, it's very, very important to me. And it's one of the most powerful medicines I've ever experienced. And it's, I think one of the reasons why people have the experiences they have with it sometimes is because folks don't exactly realize like the medicine that they're actually working with. So it's also referred to as magic mint. And it was like a cultivar by the Mazateca people of Mexico in Oaxaca. And it kind of like, so the way that they used it is they would take the fresh leaves and create a cigar of the fresh leaves and chew on the leaves and just like let the juices flow. That's awesome. And that creates, and they hid, when they got colonized with Catholicism and stuff, they, like many other oppressed people, they hid their symbols within the symbols of the oppressor. So there's a lot of kind of correlation between Salvia Divinorum and Our Lady of Guadalupe. And they also describe the salvia spirit as like a shy deer spirit. So it's like a shy, incredibly powerful spirit. And it's like a portal to the afterlife, other realms, and communicating with ancestors. So when it burst out onto the scene, and I'm not familiar with the logistics of how, but it burst out onto the scene, and all of a sudden it was like being sold in head shops and stuff. Yeah. But people were, first off, they were making it, there's like super concentrates of it, which I'm not hating on because it's actually really helpful. I use a water bong and I do smoke it, and I use a little bit of the concentrate, but you don't need, like, a little bit goes a long way. But the whole thing of like smoking the salvia it's a way more intense and immediate like method of transmission of the medicine versus the way that it was traditionally used with the quid and the chewing, which is like slower process and a little bit less like instantly dissociative, because it really does like, is like, you better be on your board when you freaking put that water pipe down, because whew. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, that I'm still like deepening my relationship with that particular medicine. But I can't possibly overstate like how kind of foundational it's been for me personally in my psychedelic journey. And I do it like very rarely, man. Like I recently revisited the realm, and it had been like 8 years. And then before that, it had been 8 years before that. It kind of just calls to me. And but anyway, maybe for another time, like we can go deeper into the salad, because we could spend
fascinated by it. Well, it's just so interesting. I'm fine by that. I know your audience is really fine by that too. This is a wonderful exchange, man. Because and you've inspired me. Like, it's not like, and again, and absolutely, I hope I articulated it well, that I was doing it at an early time in my shit that I had no fucking clue what's going on. So the fact that it's been brought up a couple of times and recently is really interesting to me and appeals to me. And I love that they call it what the mint. What is it?
Magic mint.
Magic mint. I love that, because it's like magic mushrooms, and salvia's in the mint family. Do you know how you can tell something's in the mint family?
No, please tell me.
A square stalk.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so salvia has a square
pupils,
stalk.
Goat's pupils and mint stalks.
Yeah.
Or both. Okay.
Yeah. Or they're like square. They're like more square than round stalks. You'll be able to really tell a definitive edge to them. So mint, it's in the mint family, and all mint has it's distinguishable by its square stalk. See, so we all just learned some shit
You
because
learn
of your
something every
badass thing on salvia. And see, and even it's like Terrence McKenna. Like, I'm not running to find DMT again. Like, I'd absolutely keep it on stock in the freezer. And then you know, and then dip in or offer, because man, it was powerful, and man, it was awesome. But I wouldn't, like I said, spend too much time. It's not an issue. You know what I mean? When I quit drinking, I just stopped. After 20 years, I literally just go, okay, I'm done with that, and just stopped. All these ancestor shit, everything, just like poof, gone. Just like that. No hangover, no anything. So something like that, I would be very interested in revisiting, man. Especially because I found it so bizarre, but I also found it so intriguing. Like, it scared me away then, but that's good. You know, it needed to. You know what I mean? But back to the DMT real quick. Terrence McKenna even said that if you use DMT more than once a year, you're a heavy user. And so it's like, again, not something I'm running back to, but it was a beautiful thing to experience. And I was very welcome there. Like, it was an incredible thing. Like, there was no waiting room for me. I just shot right through. But I took 5 hits. You know, I heard about the 3-hit thing, and so I was like, "Fuck that noise." And so I took 5 for my first time, and it was by the third and a half when my hand was gone. The fourth one I did again, the hand completely gone, like crazy shit going on. And then fifth, and I was gone, and it was profound as fuck. Which we will share on the next time here. I don't want to take up all the time for that.
Wow, I'm so impressed that you were able to get the 4th and 5th hit.
I took 3 more in the middle.
Wow.
Yeah, because in the middle of the experience, what I felt were elders visited me. These council of grandmothers is what I've ever heard it referred to in Navajo. You know, they have the council of grandmothers, and the grandmothers decided everything. They decided when the tribe went to war, and if they did it all, who they fought with, and if they did it all. Like, they kept this sort of peace, and it was this just, you know, council of grandmothers. So I think that's cool as shit. My Gma was somebody I revered. I canceled my second tour of China to go tour over there because she called 2 weeks before the tour and was like, "Hey, you know, I'm not feeling well. I'm dizzy." And she lived in a town 5 hours away from us. We lived in Houston at the time, and she was in Fort Worth, where we are now. And so I just canceled the tour and moved up here. So I've always had this reverence for the elders, you know, and for that, like, I get that. And so they greeted me in this realm. These council of elders is what I would say. But they were specifically grandmothers. I just felt this energy, and they said, I just kind of got this feeling, and I knew that and I said out loud to the people there, I just said, "Hey, they want me to go deeper. I'd like to go deeper. They're inviting me to go deeper." And everything that anyone told me in there or invited me to do, I always say yes, 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 yes. I'm just like, yep, absolutely, yep, absolutely. And we would just keep going, and they'd smile, and we'd keep going. And so I took 3 fat fucking rips right in the middle of it again. And that's why my experience was more like 30, 35 minutes, but it was like an 8-hit trip. You know what I mean? And really the only reason I only did 3, and even that third one was hard right in the middle, was because of the fucking taste, man. You know, I've got a little queasy stomach, and DMT just like, it doesn't taste good. You know what I mean? If they could do something with it, you know, make it flavored or something, rather than like plastic dead robot ass flavor. You know, that's what it tastes like.
Great.
Like,
so you must have been operating your motor functionality was just like you knew instinctively how to do it and stuff.
Yeah, and you know, another interesting thing you say about motor function is I got into this breathing pattern that they noticed on the outside that I did not. They said that they'd noticed in other people as well. And they said you just automatically got into this very rhythmic breathing. And then at one point in the journey, there was a shadow figure that popped up and then like right up to me. And so it was this really dark point. And I just grabbed the edge of the chair. And then they said I just stopped breathing for a little bit. And they said they were about to say something. And then I took a deep breath, and I just kept going, and then got back into this rhythmic automatic breathing function within the trip. And that was one of the interesting things too, is within it, I felt for the first time ever by location. I knew I was in a room physically with the body. A part of me was, but I also was very, very much looking through my third eye, because I had a sleep mask on, a black sleep mask on. Because it's not this type of DMT. It's not a like get up and walk around like mushrooms. It's a ride. You know what I mean? Like, and you want it to be. It's fucking dope, dude. Could not recommend this. 5 fucking stars. There were more stars on it, we'd add that. And it and so like I said, within it though, I'm looking through my third eye very, very clearly at a realm with a bunch of fucking it was amazing. And but also I could hear the music when I wanted to tune into it. I could hear things. I could feel the chair. I could feel myself breathing. When they commented on my breathing, I felt it. I locked back into my body while still in the rod and still very gone. And so it was very interesting to feel that very abrupt bilocation, but still be very, very conscious of both at the same time. Like my body wasn't like, hey, let's get up and run around, but I knew it was there, kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
With the dark shadow figure, so you kind of like stopped breathing and then you kind of remembered to keep breathing, and was that what dispersed the figure, like when you remembered to breathe again?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know if it was the breathing that sent it. It's chicken and egg at this point because I can't remember now within it. I don't recall at this time. I don't have access to that information at this time. That if it was because I got over it or something, or because I faced it in a certain time period or a certain energy within me just released. And so therefore the thing vanished because it just vanished in smoke, and then it really took off and a bunch of crazy shit happened. But it was like this guardian. It was this barrier. It was this shadow self that stopped, and it just said, okay, well, this is, and you can tell me to go away, but you don't go any further than here. And it was in a cave section of it, and all the entities that were fun. It was like Toontown at first. Then all the entities sort of started to dwindle, and then it was only a couple, and they looked at the cave. And then when I glanced at the cave, there was like an entrance to it, and it was like a lighted from behind, but you could see like a slit in it. It wasn't a full open entrance. And all of a sudden, they disappeared, and then I'm just me in this cave with this lighted entrance, and then the shadow thing just was there, dude. And it was completely shadow. It was like a desperado with like a hat, and like the desperado, like it was wearing a poncho, you know what I mean? But it was all silhouette. So it was just standing there, but I could feel this dread, sort of, or that I should have felt dread, but that it was really just me and all of these things. And so at that point, the breathing had slowed whenever I suppose it got to that. And then, but they mentioned that I grabbed the chair because when it was there, it was fine. Like I was okay with it being over there. I'm not a fan of like shit jumping out at me. Okay. And it was there. And even that like happened, and I was still okay with it for some reason. But looking back on it, I shouldn't have been. But anyway, but then the thing sort of, and it's going to be challenging for the audio only audience, but it's even challenging for the video. And I don't know how to describe it other than that it sort of phased itself a few feet at a time instantly toward me in glitches that spit out like smoke. And where the smoke billowed out from him, from his everything, it would be like he's just standing there, and then smoke, and then where the smoke went to, which is about a few feet out from him, he appeared instantly. And then more smoke, and then appeared instantly. More smoke appeared instantly until he was 2 inches away from my face. And when he got 2 inches away from my face, I saw that it was a desperado type of a, I don't know, mummy with like a thing, but he was a mummy. It had like a huge glowing neon green and yellow eye, and then but wrappings. But underneath the wrappings, it was pitch black, and it had a glowing point of light, like another eye, but it was a pinpoint of glowing light, very small, but within the wisps.
Wow.
And it stood right here and just stared at me, and I just stared at it, and that's when I grabbed the chair and just stopped breathing. Is because of this, and it was right on me. And my job was just to hold my shit and not freak out. And I guess I passed because it immediately just, as it came, vanished through smoke, and then I was shot off, dude. And then these giants were stabbing these swords into my third eye, and it was fucking amazing. Wow. Like I felt like I was getting Reiki. All these hands were going, my legs were doing this in real life, my body and shit. It was amazing, dude.
You think about like the guardian of the threshold type thing with that desperado figure. It kind of was like, all right, vibe check. Like, are you ready to go deeper?
That's what it is. It is a vibe check. Because then after that, we had giant stabbing in stores, which was amazing. And then I rocketed through multiple dimensions on this incredible ride through galaxies and dimensions and layers and all of these things. And then I got to a point that's when the elders came and said, hey, do you want to go deeper? We'd like you to go deeper. And I said, fuck. Yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound, man. Let's fucking go, And so I said out loud, that's all they said. We'd like for you to go deeper. Would you like to go deeper? And I was like, sure. But I knew automatically my mouth said the words that they knew that I needed to say, which was, they want me to go deeper. I'd like to go deeper. I think I need more. I didn't associate I need more with go deeper. They just said, hey, you need more if you want to. They didn't say that. They said, we'd like you to go deeper. Would you like to go deeper? I said, I need more. And that was it. And it was really, they go, what? And then they were like, yeah, okay. Loaded up a pipe real quick, handed it to me. I'm like, half-eyed. I'm like still flying through the galaxy in the other dimension. And I'm like, okay. And then I get 1, 2. And really that third one I wasn't going to do. And the guy was like, come on, man, come on. And I go, and I'm like nauseous as shit. Because not only am I like flying in another dimension and like motion sickness, you know what I mean? From this just rocket through these realities. But then just the smell of the like real shit in real life. And I don't want to turn anybody off from this, but it's like plastic. It's like burning plastic. So if anybody wants, in science wants to get on the game of fucking making it taste better, that'd be dope. But
yeah, it's
powerful,
the juice is worth the squeeze, I would
it
say.
is.
You know what I mean?
Know.
Like
I know.
drinking
They're all
ayahuasca
like that.
isn't necessarily a breeze either, but you got to do it. You got to do it.
You've got it. And there's a barrier to entry that you must pay. There's a cost to entry. Yeah.
So, brother, keeping with the kind of like psychedelia metaphorical vibe tip right now.
Yeah.
And speaking of the salvia, which was used by the Mazateca people, they also journeyed with the mushrooms as well. And the other day, I just had this notion that, people always talk about when you're like blowing up on TikTok or something, and it's like, oh, you're going to go viral. This is a two-part question, and I'm going to kind of like tie it together. People say like, oh, you're going to go viral. That never really connected with me personally. That I just, I don't know, viruses take over cells and they're kind of sneaky, and I'm not really into that as much. And then the other aspect is, I lost my train of thought. Basically, it was, oh, right. The second part of the question, which I wanted to ask you, is to get into, try to use the small mouth noises to describe like what we are really doing here. And I know that those are like words and it can be vague or whatever. I'm gonna try to like detail out what I mean by that. It's so easy to get caught up in, well, first off, there's like the survival aspect of life. Like you have to keep a roof over your head. If you have people that depend on you, you have to provide for them and stuff like that. Then you're also creating art, which is in especially like the zeitgeist of like the modern technosphere. There's a lot of emphasis on metrics, on numbers, on algorithms. I always say like one of my main mantras is you are the algorithm, like be the algorithm, take the algorithm back. You are the algorithm. Your existence is the algorithm. But it's just very easy to get like sidetracked on that. And then you're like metric watching and all this stuff. And you get with like judgments and all that kind of thing. So back to the first part of the question or the conversation or whatever. I like the idea. So I love mushrooms. I like my psyche is like 80% fungal at this point. I love the mycelial network, learning about like how there's like this free market almost with the mycelial network, how they transport nutrients areas where like there's not enough to areas where they need them and vice versa, and transmitting information amongst the different trees and shrubs and organism in terms of like pathogen information and antigen information, all that kind of stuff. So I realized that I don't really have an interest necessarily in going viral. I have an interest in going fungal.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, what are we really doing here? You said it right at the very beginning. We're connecting.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're doing. The expanding reality is the expansion of consciousness, cleverly disguised as a podcast. Barbarian Noetics is dedicated to the elevation of the human spirit. And I was kind of thinking before we recorded, like that's a kind of interesting expansion and elevation. Those are interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Transcend and include or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to run that by you in terms. And so the whole idea with going fungal is like you're proliferating. Like if anything knows how to proliferate, it's mushrooms, fungus, mycelia. But it's grounded in connection with other nodes and also like a symbiosis of existence, synthesis of different knowledges and awarenesses. So your thoughts, sir?
My thoughts are that I'm just blown away by how impressed I am by that and you and all of this. Like that is such a fascinating observation because it is, now that you're saying it, I'm like, yes, that's what we've been doing. Because I'll tell you this, I went viral on TikTok. Can I share screen, or is that an option we have here?
Please, yeah.
Is that a thing we can do?
Yeah. Let me see if I have to
present share screen. Okay, I'm on it.
Cool.
Apologies for the listeners listening in. This will make sense in a moment, but I also want to touch on something that you said to comparison. What is this? Don't show.
Absolutely.
Okay. What are we doing here?
Go for it. Yeah, I think my listeners are probably like, oh, he's talking about the mycelial mat again. It's like,
dude, you better have, because you brought it up to the right guess, because this I'm hearing for the first time, guys. Okay, are you seeing this?
So I'll add it right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes. All right, we are
Okay.
seeing it now.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to go back to that screen. Okay, so can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Okay, outstanding. Now you're on, I don't know why this, but you're on the same channel as my audio for this, so we're not going to make it go crazy. But anyway, I was using my TikTok here to do videos for the show and for all those kinds of things, right? All sorts of fun shit from the ranch. These are our goats and stuff like that. So what I did was I kept saying, oh, I want to go viral. I want a video to go viral. And if I just went viral, everything would go better. And then the show would blow up and all of these things, right? And so I got my wish. Now, here's why I can tell you. I love my higher self, and he and I are so lockstep right now. And so him and I are laughing at this together. So again, I'm going to hit mute on the audio, but yeah, we'll get this figured out. So I worked a construction job for a little bit because I mean, I was playing podcaster for a little while. I ran out our savings and needed to go get a job. So I did that. And yeah, apparently. And so I did that. And I was on the job site one day and I was sitting there, and I'm not one to like be on camera. I'm just not. I've done it a few times, but I'm not like one of those like post a day and shit. I don't like you. I'm not a slave to the algorithm. I'm not a believer in shadow banning. I'm not subscriber to any of those things. I don't look at like TikTok as a bad thing, and I'm actually a very strong proponent of it. And so all of these sort of like rules I don't fucking apply to either way. And I'm going to give you guys a great one on this. The comparison curse is dead within me. Say that as many times as you need for you to know what it means. And what it really means is I choose the happiness of this moment over the pain of the past or anything else. So you're sitting here saying that your comparison is the thief of joy. If you're sitting here saying, well, other people are doing this and I don't look like that, or I'm not performing that way, or my numbers aren't, or I don't have, or any of those things, you're offering your power over to such a limiting idea. And I really see it from this perspective. You're offered over to such a limiting idea that it will show you, but I can skip you ahead a far way and show you in real time. So I made a video while I was on the job site, and I'm just going to show it to you here. Oh, shit. Okay. My bad.
Huh.
Okay. So I made this video, and it got, if you see here, it's got 87,000 keeps, favorites, 16,000, almost 17,000 comments, and 1.6 million likes. It's been played 18.1 million times, and it did fuck all for the show. So here's the thing. I had a video go absolutely straight up viral. I mean, people were reaching out to me. People put it on playlists. Like I got the whole, hey, can we include you? And hey, we'll tag you. And got a couple of bumps here and there, but it was not what people tell you going viral is, because this went fucking viral. And even when I show people now, look, 18.1 million. When I show people now, they're just like, holy shit, that's you. That's your shit. Oh my God, I've seen that on this video. And why this is funny. Have you ever used one of these saws?
I have used it a couple times. Yeah. And just for the audio only listeners, the video, it says how to cut a straight line with a Sawzall perfect every single time. And then it's a Sawzall kind of like, how would you describe it? Because you do end up cutting it straight.
Yeah. So I made the line, and I knew that this is a joke, because this dude I was working with was like, all right, we need this cut off. He goes, here's the tool. I go, okay. He goes, yeah, we need a good straight line there. I go, okay. And so I started fucking with it, and that's what ended up happening. And so I thought it'd be a funny video. And so I put Sawzall, by the way, that's called a reciprocating saw. Now I misnamed it on purpose because this is a trick to put an error in your comments, and you'll get like 80,000 times more people reaching out to correct you than to just enjoy your video. So I had a lot of folks go, it's a reciprocating saw. I'm like, thank you for the algorithm boost. You know what I mean? Because that's all that is. It's like, oh, thank you. Because I know that. So anyway, that's a little tip for you. If you want misspell something, whatever, be real specific or just be wrong, and people just call you fucking out on it. And it's like, thanks, ass. It's not about the thing. It's about the thing, right? So it's all helping. And so this one also, because anybody that's used a Sawzall, which is a brand name, not a type of saw, which anyone that's used a reciprocating saw knows that this is not a precision tool for fine craftsman work, right? It is a demo tool that gets studs out of the way and cuts through pipes and like just shred shit that you're planning on throwing away anyway, which was what this was. This is sacrificial boards or whatever. But it was just funny to picture me drawing a damn line on this as if I intended for it to be the intended consequence, which is why I did it. And then not only lost my shit with it, which is funny enough, but then you finally find the damn line a few seconds into it, and then you cut a straight as shit line. And there were a lot of people with huge accounts on there that were looking at it going, oh, he finally did it. You know, he did cut a straight ass line after he got it. And people are laughing and stitching it, and it's been all over. So 18.1 million, fuck off for the show. Now, what it did do is it boosts the TikTok up to 13.5, which is great. And then, you know, that's where we are. But going viral is not what, you know, people think it is, because I went viral. Like, that's the thing. Again, I got contacted by a bunch of people, blah, blah, blah. But it was fun, and it's something you and I got to talk about. We got a funny video out of it, and people enjoyed it. I enjoyed that it was making so many smiles. It's an uncancelable. Yes. You can't, like, be mad about its gender. You can't be upset about its, you know, its political leanings. It's just a funny fucking video. And then there's so many people, tradesmen, you know, which I've done so many jobs. There's so many tradesmen out there that will see that. Number one, they'll go, oh my God, somebody finally figured out how to cut a straight line. And a lot of people did. A lot of motherfuckers were like, damn, you got me. They were like, I've been trying to cut a straight line with that damn tool forever. And so, and had a lot of fun. And it was just a few seconds of taking people out of their day. And it's called Pattern Interruption. There's a guy named Humor Bagel on Instagram. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Okay. What are your thoughts on doing a video? Do we have time for this?
Yeah, go for it, man.
We could do that. Are you charging for these? Or does this go out for free?
This goes out for free.
Okay. The reason I ask is for copyright. So for us to be able to share it, it just needs to go out for free so we can all enjoy it. If you're charging for it, it goes against copyright. You know this.
It'll go out on the Rockfin for free.
Okay, badass. Okay, but this guy's name is Humor Bagel. And this is going to really up the class of your Humor Beagle. Jesus Christ. This is really going to up the class of your show. Yeah.
That's the Tunisia-based account.
Yeah. That's hilarious, dude. Damn it. How do you spell bagel, bro?
I think it's Bagel.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Good Lord. It's one of those things, you know, like when you say a word a bunch, it loses meaning. Okay. Are you ready to up the class of your...
I can't wait.
Okay.
Cannot wait.
I will make this absolutely deep, and I'll show you why. It is so deep to me. It's it falls on Pattern Interruption, which is beautiful. Okay, here we go. Dude, StreamYard's cool.
I'll add it. Cool. I'm glad. Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah, so this dude has a great following. He's having a lot of fun out. What he's doing is he's out in New York, and this is what he does. Let me share the audio, because that's the whole point.
So it's a gentleman walking around, apparently just ripping ass.
But it's not a real fart. It's obviously a fart. It's a fart gag that he has in his pocket.
He does a little pose. He strikes a pose.
Can you imagine? I mean, now you're out in the wild and somebody walks past you and does this. Look at what this dude does for humanity.
That one, he just made the sound into a cone, a traffic cone, to amplify it. And he's making people smile left and right, dude, over here. That's
what it is. This right here. This man now has spread so much joy and brings so much to people that look at this. It's just like taking people out of their day. And there's just some awesome ones on here. Here, this one's really good. And then because I could do this all day. I'll let y'all do this on your own. But anyway, one more and then I'll stop. Okay.
He's sitting on a bench next to 3 women. And then he just walks by all casual. And they're loving it. Pattern interrupted as fuck right there.
Now, whatever these women were talking about, maybe it was serious. Maybe someone just had a death. Maybe one of them was consoling the other for just getting over a breakup or something. But now you have this gift of a man, this treasure, this hero, adorning not a cape, but a fart machine. And he sits on this bench, stares at these women, and makes this eye contact. We're going to roll it again. The eye contact right there. And I don't know how he does it, dude. I'd lose my shit. He's doing God's work, and I don't give a fuck what anyone says. And
So
yes,
low-key.
so this account just has so many, I mean, amazing. It's just, this is it. By the way, there's to be spoiler alert, it's fart noises and joy. Okay. Look at this. All right, one more. Because look at we have to, right? This is your show. Okay.
He's lying. He's lying on the bench. He lifts his leg up as women walk by.
Whoops. And then fucking whoops.
Oh shit, that's ridiculous.
It's just what he does for these people. Look how fucking, look at what he's doing for us now.
Right.
So I know a guy, Ariel Vega, who lives up in New York, and I'm like, please go walk around fucking Central Park and find this guy and tell him that I love him and tell him to get on the show. But I love that man to death. Humor Bagel, shout out. Just come on the show. I want to talk to you. Sure. Been manifesting it for a while. He'll come on. But what he's doing, I'm dead serious. This is pattern interruption. It is such a deep psychological tool that it is unbelievably powerful. So even neuroplasticity sort of experts will tell you this. Do things different. 90% of your life is governed from this subconscious realm that you have no idea what's going on in there. It's all automatic programs. Pattern interruption snaps you out of operating in that mode and forces you into the conscious part, which is like 5% and 10% of you. It's fuck all. But that's where all like decisions and present moment is found, is right there. You could dip into the well of the subconscious, but being in the present moment is functioning in the conscious. That's expanding that gap, right? And so what this dude does is whatever you're on your mind, whatever, oh, my boss said this, and oh, I can't believe it, and oh, can you believe she, and oh, what's going to happen with, and you just like walk her, and you're just like, what the fuck? And it instantly snaps you out and brings you back to the only damn thing you have and where your power is in the present moment. It's such a deep, amazing, wonderful thing that man is doing. And, yes, it's written off as a humor channel or whatever, but I will praise that dude as part of one of the greatest expanders of consciousness right there.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Isn't it great?
Pattern interruption right there.
Brush your teeth with the opposite hand, driving to work a different way than you normally do, going to a different grocery store than you normally do. All of these things are pattern interruption. And they're things that you should practice often. Learn how to do a Rubik's Cube if you never have. Do puzzles, do something that keeps you cognitively interested in being a participatory member of this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Challenge yourself.
You're absolutely right too about the neuroplasticity. They've shown that so we can generate new brain cells our whole lives up until the day that we pass on. And one of the main factors that contributes to that is learning new things and doing new things and putting yourself into new and unique situations or being put into it, like by Humor Bagel, for example.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's incredibly essential. I also love your emphasis on like laughter and not taking yourself too seriously. I think that really is like, it's key. Critical.
It's everything.
It has to do with the what are we actually doing here question as well. It's like we're here to dance and to play and to enjoy ourselves. Our bodies are fucking amazing. They're products of 4 billion or more years of biological evolution. And we're like electrochemical machines. We are capable of feeling like these indescribable waves of bliss and like energy flow through us, like up and down our little wheels, our chakra wheels. And that's something that the last time I journeyed to the Salvia, I really, it was almost too much in terms of just the sheer bliss of, I was spinning so high that it was almost just like, I just had to breathe and just roll with it. It was like, and that is another aspect of life that it's just don't miss out on it, folks. Don't miss out on that aspect of life, like the Kundalini energy and the being able to like just experience your channels vibrating so high. You know what I mean? It's just so important.
Yeah, and don't take it too seriously. Even with all this healing journey and with all this, you got to be serious and meditate. Fuck that. Like, be mindful and present. That trumps anything, any advice anyone can give you. And we'll wrap it on this if you don't mind, my friend.
For sure.
So let's do this. What I recently realized, I was telling you a little bit about this before, is that this idea of present moment. Were we talking about present moment before? I was in the present moment with you, so I can't recall it. Okay. Either way, we're going to share it here with the audience. So from the present moment is where your power is, and that's the only thing you've got. I experienced a very chosen level up. And what I mean by level up is I'll write it in my journal. Okay, we're leveling up. Okay, we're leveling up now. But that means it's not fucking money is going to rain from the sky and like Joe Rogan's going to parachute down on my property and go, you're fucking being my co-host forever. It's nothing like that. What level up I know means, and I know this every time, I don't have the hubris to think anything else, is that it means anything left in there. Hey, this is your call out. This is the last call because we are leveling up. That's the thing. But what it means is anything rolling around in there, any understandings, any lacks in awareness, any blind spots that we have from where we are to whatever next level up means. So I'm casting it to the wind, whatever that means. I don't have it defined. Again, I would never have the hubris. Then what that means is all that shit presents itself and it comes to the forward. And then it manifests in my reality for me to experience what I need to release before I can move on. So I don't know why I do this. I do, though. So I called it in, and the level up occurred over a 3-week time period where things got more and more fucking weird and more fucking dumb and more fucking rooting down in 3D and more got my attention. And this is what I really realized after 4 shit fucked up days. It was like, get it now, figure it out. This is your truck. Stop doing this. This was 4 days of like very in my face. Here's how you learn this lesson. And here's where I am with it. The same thing continued to present itself to me, and I would access the same emotions. And I couldn't see from any previous experience what it was, but from this experience, I'd finally leveled up to the point where I could glimpse over and peek over the fence enough and then fall back down in the middle of it. And so what I glimpsed over and my new understanding that freed me from this fucking pattern is your present moment and your power. And what I mean by this is what I would find is, let's say a bomb gets dropped in your reality, okay? And we all know what this means, just something. What it had the ability to do for me, so I'm just going to speak for me. What it had the ability to do for me was divide my energy and cast it to the wind. Now, what I would do is I would instantly go into a mode where I was now taking a little bit of my power. So I'd grabbed all of my power in my present moment, bomb drops in, and rather than being with myself and knowing that this too shall pass, and even though I repeat those mantras as I'm gathering all my power up, I'm like, this is a test, bro. This is all just a dream. This is your reality. I'm gathering my energy up. I'm like, it sure is. And I'm gathering so that I can grab this little stack of it here and throw it all the way back to the timeline, my other version of myself, so that I could yell at myself. I could hate on myself. I could be so upset. I could abandon all self-love for anything I knew and yell at a guy in my previous timeline, who knows, last week, last month, whatever it was, caused this to happen now. And I was throwing all that energy back there to make sure that I was very intent and focused on making that dude feel like a piece of shit for doing the best he could with the information he had at the time. Now, also, there was another little bundle of energy that I had here as I was gathering my absolute awareness of, yeah, I know this is for me. I know this, this is my opportunity, greater and grander. And I would trebuchet this fucking bucket of energy, the last remaining half that I had from my present moment. There's all that you have. And I would cast it off into these far-flung futures that had no manifestation quality whatsoever. They were potentialities that I was investing a lot of time and fear in by going, oh my God, this is going to happen. And oh, this is going to happen. And what about this? And this domino spiral effects of these timelines that weren't real. They're not in my present moment. So again, what I realized in my glimpse over the fence was you're giving your power away and you're losing yourself in the present moment. And so with those two understandings, what I realized again was I was taking my power from here, throwing it back there, no self-love involved whatsoever, throwing it over here. And I was doing it all from a present moment that I could no longer find. And this is the part where I really got to a point where I go, okay, it's like the T-1000 in Terminator 2, right? Where it gets shot or whatever, and it blows all of its pieces out, and then all of them coagulate back together, but it takes a minute. That's what it was. But it was me throwing all that shit to my past self and no self-love involved whatsoever. So immediately it was like my present moment needs me to remain focused and in self-love. And what I did was the opposite of it. I immediately scattered my focus everywhere and was hating on myself from every corner of it. And it was through that realization that I was just like, okay, I get it. So now it's really, again, about present moment. So I'm going to give you guys some tips. This is Joe Dispenza thing. I recently finished Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Highly recommend if you haven't. And in there, he gave a couple of really great analogies to surrender. And he gave a couple of really great, he redefined surrender for me. And then also he gave me the ability to bring myself back to the present moment. So his tip for that is just say the word change. That's it. You find yourself, your thoughts wandering, good or bad, by the way. You're focused on a far-flung fantasy that's, oh, this is awesome, and oh, this is going to be great, and I can't wait until, and all of those things, but it's not the appropriate time. Like you haven't set time aside to do that, to daydream, right? Set time for that. But if it's invasive, if it's that defeats the point of the exercise that I'm offering you. What you want to do is just say change and bring yourself back, good or bad. Like if it's thinking about a memory or thinking about a what if, change, come back. You're not there. You're nowhere else, and that's not where your power is. So don't offer it there. It's all a game of currency of energy. Where your energy goes, attention flows, and emotion is just energy in motion. So when you start to put all those things together, right? And during this process, Abraham Hicks' words came in my head. You're always manifesting from your moment of now. Then Bashar popped up in there and he said, greetings, you always seek your current joy in the moment of now, and that's all you're doing ever. And it's like, oh my God, it's such a focus on the moment of now. And I've heard these things for years, man, decades. I heard Bashar say that shit decades ago. It did not ring in me the way that it did this time. And so I hope to illuminate a part of the cave that you guys don't need to stroll down, because it's just an interesting thing from where I'm at. And this is fresh, guys. This is I'm a week into this experience and this understanding, but I feel so much lighter. I haven't thought about the thing in a while. Also, I was talking to a dear friend of mine. If you've got a connection, remind me, and we'll get you connected with a guy named Pat Mahan. He runs a show called Like Attracts Like.
Okay.
Could not fucking recommend. Dude, this is a brother. He and I were talking about this because he's my like accountability buddy. When I'm losing my shit, I don't air this to the audience. I'll bring you like now. I'll bring you like after it happens, you know, and all this stuff, and we can go more into detail with the befores and all that stuff. But I'm not going to walk you through the gory details of it because I don't have it processed. I'm off my board. You know what I mean? I'm in the tumble, but there's a lot to be glimpsed in the tumble. So I'm doing it for the knowledge and then coming back up. So I'll let you know when I'm back on my board. But in the tumble, I call Pat. He's a dear friend and a brother, and just beautiful. And in that, what we were talking about is that you cling so much to the idea of it being a loss, like of you getting over an older idea that you had and conquering this thing, which it's not about conquering. It's about integrating and really come to the awareness of your blind spots, offer them over to the higher you that's outside the maze, that can see you walking in the maze and that you're connected with, and realizing that that dude is not, you know, leading you down far-flung corners, that he's got your best interests at heart. And it's this type of focus and understanding that really like frees you. And it shows you, you know, like before I was pissed off at something and now I'm not. Now I realize, oh, got it. It's like, thank you. You know, it's one of these like smiles when Daniel finally looks at Mr. Miyagi and goes, okay, I get it. I know why I've been waxing on and waxing off. You know what I mean? I get it now. And that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
So if I could share that for y'all, present moment, stay here. Just stay in your moment and just really focus on it as an exercise. I think you'll find that it's more challenging than you think. Your mind it's programmed to wander.
All the best stuff is more challenging than you realize. And a lot of times that you get the challenges, like it feels like you're like, oh, I wasn't prepared for this. And it's like, I like your collecting like the little bits of yourself that you're casting out, collecting them and bringing them back into that.
Bring them back. This is where all your power is. This is what people talk about, that like bring your power back to yourself. It's like, yes, it's on, and it's not that you like gave it to someone. It's that it's there's a belief in there that keeps you tied to something, and your energy is tied to that idea, which keeps you limited. So think of the ties that you have as limiting yourself, and when you shed those, you shed limitations, and then you offer probabilities and possibilities, and you invite your higher self to do what it wants to do, which is surprise and delight you. And you say, okay, you know, I'm open to being surprised and delighted. Here are my blind spots. I don't have it all figured out. I know that I've got a direction. I've got a call. I'm riding the wave. I'm surfing it. I'm enjoying it. But I know that you've got advanced knowledge and you could set shit up. You know my intentions. I'm not going to sit here and nitpick my manifestations with you. I've written them down. I've done the thing. I'm not going to go over and write them 50 times a day. It's asinine. Like, you know what I want. And actually, it's counterproductive. Actually, if you want to do that, write it as many times as you want and then multiply it by 10. And that's how many times you're not going to get it, because of how focused you are on it.
Interesting. Yeah.
If you release it, you just say what it is and move on. I'll give you an example. You don't call your pizza guy every 5 fucking minutes when you ordered the pizza. Have the same certainty in your manifestations coming in. Same thing with Amazon. Some people do this, actually. I'll catch my wife doing this every now and then. I'm like, sweetheart, she'll check her order, right? When's it coming in? When's it coming in? Did you order it? Okay. Are we on Amazon Prime? Okay. Is it usually here within like 2 days, if not like 3 hours sometime? We got something like 3 fucking hours sometime in the country. I'm like, what are we doing here? And it's a fast, rapid manifestations, right? So treat it the same. Treat your manifestations, treat your desires, treat anything the same as a pizza. You're so sure it's going to come in. You don't need to sit there and check on it all the time. this idea of like those apps where you can track your driver. The dude stopped by to get gas. Like, just settle down. You know what I mean? It's your manifestation stopped by to get more energy and pick up cooler shit for you on the way. They're bringing pot too. It's pizza and pot, dude. Just settle down. You know what I mean? It's like a better deal. So that's the thing, is surrendering the how, give it up, and then just admitting that, you know, you've gotten to a point with yourself to where you're willing to surrender, not like yourself and give up. It has nothing to do with that. And that's what Dr. Joe Dispenza redefined for me in that book, because I thought that's what it was before. And I'm like, well, I'm no fucking quitter. What it really is about is it just admitting your blind spots and admitting that, hey, maybe here's my strengths. Here are the where I'd like to go, and there's a gap here. You know, there's a goal and gap concept, and I surrender the gap to you. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to like work my mental way through it. Oh, if I put this video out, then I'll have this many more followers. Oh, and if I change the thumbnails, and maybe they'll be more attractive, and that'll increase me by this. And I'm going to hire an expert to then go over my numbers, and fuck all of that, dude. I can tell you this. I have done 0% of that. Zero. And we have been in the top 1% of podcasts. I glanced at it for a metric that somebody needed one time, and that was it. And we're like top 1% of podcasts out of 2.5 million. And that's since the first 6 months of the show. We've been doing it 2.5 years. So it's been crushing, but I don't need to look at it because first of all, that's not a metric of success for me. I don't care. My metrics of success are we having fun? Is the audience getting some out of it? Does the guest just have the best fucking time and want to come back? Yeah. If it's all of those are answered, absolutely awesome. I do the show for me. I just happen to put it out for everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's really where I'm at with it. So if you maintain that, and you really, because again, yes, you are the algorithm, but by stating that and still paying attention to numbers and desiring them to be different, and like logicking your way through that gap is part of the, like, I feel, trap of the metrics. You know what I mean? Like, I don't find them valuable, so therefore they don't get my attention. You know, and it's all about your attention. That's your currency. I'm telling you, I don't have notifications turned on shit on Instagram. So thank you, by the way. When we're setting this up, it's like days before you'll hear from me, and it's just because I don't have notifications on. I check it when I check it. It doesn't pull me out of my moment, and that's what I covet most.
Man, speaking of surprise and delight, my friend, you have surprised and delighted all of us today. I appreciate you so much. I just want to say before I let you go too that you are an inspiration. Like, what you've built, it's amazing to see. And like, for someone like me who's coming up, you know, like, you plant the acorn, grows into a mighty oak. I'm like, you know, I'm a sapling, so I'm growing towards the light. And just to see what you've accomplished, you're like, it's inspiring, and it gives fuel, and it's just a real pleasure to meet you finally, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, you're a brother. We've met in all of the times, and so we just happened to come about in this one. You know, I feel like I've known you for a very long time. You and I are going to have much more to talk about after this. But thank you for the kind words, man. Honestly, like I said, it's bigger than me, and what I will take the compliment for is the ability to get out of my own way. I really, there's no ego in this. That's what allows us to have the types of conversations and the guests and the experience we do. Is because I'm not out to prove me right or them wrong. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. But we have a great time talking about it. I'm fine with this being a yes and, not an either or. And that's something I'm very focused on. And that's really what I feel the expansion of consciousness is at a root. If you could define it, it's about abolishing the either or and embracing the yes and. And these concepts of dichotomy, about two contradictory points existing in the same place at the same time, like happens everywhere all the goddamn time. And so that's where I believe the perception shift is occurring, and just grateful to be a part of it. So thanks for what you're doing, man. Like I said, you and I have so much more to look forward to. And to your audience, I'm just letting you all know, you already do, but how grateful you are to have such an amazing host that provides such a wonderful environment for his guests to be themselves and to get the most out of them. So thank you, brother.
Thank you too, man. The links are all going to be in the description, but let folks know where they can find you out on the interwebs and any current projects that you're really looking forward to.
Yeah, we're all over the place. And I appreciate you asking, man. I almost forgot. We're all over the place, but expandingrealitypodcast.com is where everything links to, and that's where the Expansive Insider that you can sign up. That's our value exchange program. That's our Expansive Insider members, and you can sign up. You get access to all the Expansive Insider content, and that's where all the bonus stuff is happening for value exchange. If you want to participate and support, and then as well, we published a handbook for the show. So this is actually a handbook that we created here for the show, and this thing is super cool. And one of the reasons that we did this was to show everybody not only that this thing is super cool and it can you can go through the show with it. This sort of shows you how to use it or whatever for the audio audience that's being shown here. Now, also, this, though, was also to feature and highlight the fact that we founded a publishing house called Ridiginal Publishing, which means ridiculously original. Okay. So that
Nice.
has been another thing that we've been doing and looking very much forward to. Actually, the meeting I have after this, which is why I have a time commitment today, and thank you for being acquiescent to that, is for another author to come on board. And actually, we're doing a republish of a book, and he's publishing a second one with us now. And that's what this meeting's about. So it's expanding like crazy. We've gotten several authors signed, several huge projects in the works, and it's just so much fun.
Wow.
And if anybody, we're putting the bat signal out for aligned, sort of not interns, but people who just have things of service that they'd like to offer and be a part of something massive and huge. And if you have little things like that, or anything, honestly, a talent, just something that you'd like to contribute to be of service, we always have wonderful projects to be involved in. We have a wonderful parenting group now that's coming up called the Luminous Education Project. And that's fucking amazing. Like, I mean, we have so many wonderful things and building such a huge community that there's something for everybody here. So this is not like you're hearing us on the other side of a microphone and like, then that's where it ends and you go back to your fucking life. Like, this is an invitation to be a participatory member of this thing. And we've got an amazing universe that we're building here that's just incredible and continues to grow and expand. And we'd love for you to be a part of it. So if you hear this, you're aligned, reach out. Again, expandingrealitypodcast.com. You can contact me there, or Instagram, any of the things. You know, we're all over the damn place. Don't go on Twitter. I'm never on Twitter. We have one, but I don't fucking use it.
I feel that too.
Yeah, it's a weird
Hell
one.
yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thanks again to Brandon Thomas. Hit him up. Let's join this expanding reality. I'm here for it. We're all here for it. And take care, everyone. Much love.